Dear 40, one thing I know for sure, and perhaps that many of us can attest to, is that life doesn't always go as planned. When I was younger, I had an idea of how my life as an adult would look. I wanted to be a teacher. I was born in 1980, and growing up, one of my favorite TV shows was The Cosby Show. And with the seed of a healthy family firmly planted into my mind, I imagined that after high school, I'd go to an HBCU, a historically black college or university, graduate top of my class, and with the support of my mom, dad, and brothers in the audience, they'd cheer for me as I crossed the stage. I'd go on to travel the world for a year, completely immersed in authentic cultural experiences. Then I'd return and land a solid teaching job. I'd meet someone with complementary interests, and of course, he'd have a love for travel as well. We'd marry, start a family, and have enough money to travel to a different country every year as a family of 5 with ease. Well, life didn't exactly go that way. In reality, I gave birth to my daughter at the age of 15, and she was placed for adoption. I joined the Navy 3 years later, and the petals of life continued to unfold from there. Instead of attending an HBCU, I attended film school. During my teens, my passion for writing and filmmaking took center stage, and the fire still burns bright to this day. And while I did graduate from film school, my mother was not there to support me because she unfortunately passed away the year prior. And my father and brothers, well, they weren't able to attend due to distance. But I did have the support of my peers and friends. As for the year of travel, landing that teaching job and starting a family, those bits of imagination took on a different form in reality. But I would have to say, the best, most unexpected part of my reality was and is my daughter. It was the decision of my mom to place her up for adoption during my pregnancy. She wanted me to complete high school without struggling to raise a child. At the time, I was devastated. It was one of the toughest, most heartbreaking decisions I ever made. I could not see it then, but it would turn out to be a beautiful blessing. I met my daughter again for the first time when she was 14 in April of 2010. That same year, 4 months later, my mother passed away. I'm thankful that my daughter and mother were able to meet prior to her passing. In the years after, our connection and communication continued to blossom. Although that part of life was not in my initial imagination, reality was far better than anything that I could have dreamed. I was able to witness my daughter growing from a very unique perspective. Her parents were warm and welcoming, and I was able to see the impact of my daughter's existence on the lives of others. I was able to observe our similarities, mannerisms, as well as pinpoint certain topics of interest that I had at the same age that she was. I found myself wondering about other adoption stories, and I wondered if other bio parents shared similar moments of awareness and realization. I was living inside the real-time example of nature versus nurture, a term coined in the mid-1800s by English Victorian polymath Francis Galton, in the discussion about the influence of heredity and environment on social advancement. My goal was to remain mindful, open, aware, and available, and to create a healthy space for our relationship to develop and grow. And that is exactly what happened. Not long ago, my daughter visited me here in Tanzania, her first international trip. And during her visit, we went hiking in Pugu Hills. Afterwards, we had lunch. Our guide was kind enough to assist us by taking photos of our mini excursion. When I reviewed the photos later, I realized there was a video in the mix. And it wasn't until I posted that video that many of my friends pointed out how much my daughter and I favor, even down to the way we walked in that video. That was another eye-opening moment for me. Again, nature versus nurture, the apple and the seed. I will never grow tired of the fascination of having a child. A carbon copy of two people that usually after 9 months will come into the physical world with their own personality, interests, dreams, and purpose, who will grow up and exist as an individual just as their parents did before them, a seed, an egg, in the hand of the Most High. This woman, my daughter, has all the best parts of me. She is thoughtful and of sound mind when making a decision. She is wise and health conscious. She is creative and talented. She is disciplined and obedient. She is her own person, but aware and open to change. She knows who she is, but is simultaneously learning new parts of herself. In another light, I also think it's important as parents that we be mindful of what we are passing on to our children. In the same way that they might be the best parts of us, there may also be some things that we as people in general need to work on, and to make sure that we handle those processes as well with kid gloves. What are some habits or patterns that we've identified in ourselves that we are not too proud of? Truth of the matter is, those things can also be passed to our children, and it's important to have open and honest communication so that we continue to clean ourselves up in generations to come. It's just as much our responsibility as it is theirs and those that came before us, even though they might not have been aware of it. Recently, we had another level, I'd say, that we advanced to in our communication and in our relationship, that I'm very thankful that she feels so comfortable to speak with me in this new space. And even still, we are finding out things about each other that just blow my mind. The parallels, the places that she's arriving now at her age, that I think back to when I was in my 20s and what I was experiencing. I admire her, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to witness and be a part of her life's journey. I'm curious to know about your experience. Do you have or want children? Do you find the process of birth as fascinating as I do? Do you find that having children is as fascinating as I do? To see somewhat of a carbon copy of yourself out there in the world, walking around, holding the same dreams, desires that maybe you had when you were their age. It truly is quite miraculous. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time on Dear 40.